Hi guys, welcome to my channel. You're listening to Ebird Online and I'm here with the first part of my review, Before the 90 Days, Season 3, Episode 5, The Rest is Still Unwritten. And I'm going to be covering and I'm going to be cringing through Darcey and Tom and Benjamin and Akinyi. First up, Darcey and Tom. If you haven't already, please don't forget to subscribe for my channel for regular content, and please let me know what you think about the validity of the relationship with these couples. So I've just realised on the opening credits it says that Tom's 39. This I need to investigate because I simply don't believe it's true. He looked at least 49. By the time Darcey's finished with him, possibly 59. Maybe he's had a very hard life, I don't know. But life rolling around Chelsea and sitting on yachts doesn't look particularly difficult to me, so I certainly will be investigating. So the psychosexual harassment of Tom continues. Darcey, the hashtag #MeToo movement is coming for you if this behaviour continues. In addition to her references of walking down the aisle and getting a ring and numerous references to marriage, every hour on the hour, Darcey asks Tom, when will we become intimate? Tom doesn't like this as it makes him feel on edge. I don't blame you, Tom, it makes the Ebird cringe as well. We catch up with them and they're off to play cricket. In the taxi on the way to cricket, Darcey tells us she has something to bring up with Tom. Now Tom's booked a holiday for them in Spain on one of the Canary Islands, Gran Canaria. Now to start off with, I thought, why ever would you book to go to Gran Canaria? There are loads of places that are very nice in Spain and it's only a couple of hours flight, as you know, from the UK. But then I got to thinking, actually because it's nearer to North Africa, it's possibly the only place that's really warm at this time of year. But the way Tom's carrying on, you'd imagine he's taking her to Mykonos or Santorini or Ibiza. Tom, it's Gran Canaria. It's £299 of anyone's money for a week off season. But Darcey has other ideas. Darcey, as you know, has a twin sister called Stacey, and she has met a guy who's Albanian and she's currently in Albania with said victim. So instead of going with Tom to Gran Canaria, Darcey asks Tom if they can instead go to Albania. Tom's quite understandably disappointed. Tom tells Darcey, why would you want to go there? It's a communist country. Tom, you need to get a full refund on your education because Albania hasn't been communist for about 20 years. Remember when the Berlin Wall came down and the collapse of communism in Eastern Europe? At the same time, communism collapsed in Albania as well. But that's not to say that Albania is very possibly quite a bleak place. I wouldn't know, I haven't been, but I do know one thing. It makes total sense for Stacey to cast her eye over the relationship between Darcey and Tom. Hopefully Stacey will be able to talk some sense into Darcey and tell her to slow her roll. And if we're really lucky, she might be able to see straight through translucent Tom and see him for the fraud that he actually is. Here's hoping. Tom agrees to go to Albania reluctantly, and Darcey seems quite pleased, and I'd love to see how this is going to pan out. I don't know much about Albania. I understand it has beautiful scenery, but I've got a feeling that Tom's more into the nightlife, the bars and the pretension, and I don't think there's going to be a lot of room for that in Albania. He says, I'll only go if we have a suite. Tom, stop with the pretend. If you really were from money, that would be a given. And they drive from their Airbnb in Chelsea all the way through London, and I can't help but notice they almost drive past my apartment in West Hampstead. They go to a cricket practice ground, and for Americans who don't know, cricket is somewhat like baseball, and Tom's not much of a gentleman because Tom decides to be the bowler and makes Darcey be the batsman. Now this ball, if thrown properly, which I doubt Tom can do, can bounce and hit you in the face and cause injury. Maybe that's why Tom wants to bowl to Darcey. Darcey is possibly the least equipped person on the whole of this Before the 90 Days franchise to hit a cricket ball. Tom, you're out of order. Darcey pretends to have fun, but you can tell she'd much rather be sitting in a restaurant sexually harassing Tom. And she's about to get that opportunity. Later on we catch up with them and they're back in Chelsea and they're going to a pub called The Fiend. Now The Fiend is quite a well-known pub in Chelsea. It has a Michelin-starred chef. The food is absolutely fantastic. They have a game menu as well, so they have pheasant and grouse and so on the menu. So it really is a very nice place to eat. And Darcey seems to appreciate it a little too much for Tom's liking. As they're eating, Darcey tells Tom, you've blown me away like left and right. I feel in awe a lot of the time. I feel so lucky. And all the time Tom's wearing a look which says, spare me. So Darcey's saying, this is amazing, I love it, it's fantastic. And Tom sort of cuts her off and says, Darcey, oh my god, you're going too over the top. And he tells us Darcey's over portraying her emotions. Everything with Darcey is hallelujah, great. And he tells her quite curtly, it's a fire, it's a table, it's 2 chairs. It's just me and you. It's standard. Tom, stop. You've taken her to one of the nicest pubs you could have lunch in the UK, in Chelsea. You're not in a Wetherspoons, and you do know that it is quite nice. So let the girl show her appreciation. You've already previously noted the English are very reserved and Americans are a little bit more gushing and a little bit more enthusiastic about things. Whilst Darcey's at the extreme of that, I don't see it as being that negative a trait. I think it's really nice to take a girl out and she's not just like, yeah, yada yada yada, I've seen it all before. Well, my ex-boyfriend took me here. At least she's like, wow, this is amazing. It's so nice. I'm glad that you pulled all the stops out for me. I feel really special. Tom, what's wrong with that? Her last boyfriend didn't even know how to cut a steak. He ripped it in 2 with his bare hands like a barbarian. It was an incident which virtually led to the breakdown of that relationship. So she's just thankful you're sitting in a restaurant and using steak knives. But Darcey, as usual, is doing a little too much. She wants it all to be so perfect and so romantic, but really it isn't. Tom wears a look of mild irritation throughout the meal. So whilst Tom's wearing a look of mild irritation, Darcey takes the opportunity to ask about his feelings. And who could have picked a better time? She asks him where they see their relationship going, and she tells us the lack of intimacy is making her question herself. Darcey, stop, chill out. But as I see it, Tom, if you want the lols, if you want the laughter in your relationship, you must create it. You are the man after all. Help to create a light and airy atmosphere. Don't consistently sit around chastising Darcey. She's fragile enough as it is, and you're making things worse. So he starts to butter her up a little, and he tells her you're rocking the designer labels. And she is. She has Chanel bangles and a Gucci headband, and I feel for certain Darcey's worth more than Tom is. And so as they have dessert, in an effort to lighten the mood, Tom says to Darcey, feed me the cheesecake with your finger. So Darcey manages to get the whole of the slice of cheesecake in an oversized acrylic nail, and she leans across the table and feeds it seductively to Tom. She says, how does it taste? And she's expecting an answer such as, it tastes fantastic, or it tastes so creamy, or it tastes like seduction. But in a rare lapse of form, Tom catches a sense of humour and says, it tastes like cheesecake. It was the only funny moment in the whole of the meal. And we see that next week, Tom introduces her to some of his friends, one of whom he's previously dated. And Darcey wonders if his friends are going to like her. Well, it's taken Tom a while. So next up we have Benjamin and Akinyi, and we catch up with them back on the taxi ride from the airport. And I wonder to myself, am I supposed to find Benjamin and Akinyi cute? Because I certainly don't. Akinyi asks Benjamin if in the US you normally see goats walking around the streets randomly. He replies no, confirming to his sister that indeed Nairobi is different from Missouri. Akinyi informs Benjamin that he's going to be staying not in the Airbnb he's bought and paid for, but instead with her brother, who's the firstborn child. He seems somewhat shocked and then somewhat nervous. Then he says he doesn't have a choice. Benjamin, you really do. You can just tell her no. And I wonder to myself why she didn't tell him before, because now he's super nervous and he's quite a nervy character anyway, so she's merely exacerbating any problems he has. When they arrive at his brother's house, he has to meet a few members of her family, including her sister and her brother-in-law, and he meets the brother. And they're trying to build this up as a really big deal, but I can't help thinking, you live in a 2-room building in a shanty town. There's only so much of the large one that you can give it. So Akinyi, in front of all her family and her brother, offers him a gift of a Kenya beaded bracelet, and she tells him, it suits you. And that was a lie. And she looks him dead in the eye and asks him, what have you bought me? And of course, Benjamin's paid a couple of £1,000 on a plane flight, a few £100 on an Airbnb no doubt, and taken a week off work. He's going to have to pay for her, if he wants her, and no doubt send money to her family in Nairobi for the rest of his natural born days. Given all of that, who wouldn't want a present? So he tells her that he didn't have time at the airport to get her something, and TLC producers try to make this out as a big deal. Her brother looks quite upset, and he tells the camera he's not sure of Benjamin's ability to provide for Akinyi. From what I can see, it will supersede your ability and her dad's ability to provide for Akinyi. And Akinyi says, introduce yourself. And he looked super nervous as he had to stand up in front of all of the family and say, my name's Benjamin, and I'm from Missouri, and he basically looked as if someone had given him 20 seconds notice to do a TED talk. Akinyi shows him to his room, which resembles a cell with a pink blanket. Her brother has a chat and asks him what his intentions are towards his sister, and he tells him, "I love her, I want to marry her." And the brother tells him menacingly, "You have to impress me first. If you don't impress me, you have a problem." And all of this is very contrived and very boring. The brother says, "You need me." And in the trailers for next week, we find out what's next for Benjamin and Akinyi, as if anyone cares. And even the TV production crew couldn't even find an interesting part of their storyline for the trailer. All we see is Akinyi saying, "There's never been a white person in my town before." Yeah, right, yada yada yada. So next week I predict that even though Benjamin has moths and flies coming out of his bank account, the family will end up liking him, and they will sell Akinyi's hand in marriage to him for whatever they can get, and all will be well in Benjamin and Akinyi's world. I can't wait. Right, so guys, that's it for my first review. I'm going to be doing the other couples in another review a little bit later today. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and for all of you guys that have subscribed already, thank you so much. It's very much appreciated. Guys, let me know what you think about Darcey and Tom. Is Tom too much? Is he trying to suppress Darcey's actual personality? I think he's making her more nervous by continually chastising her like a little child. And does anybody care about Benjamin and Akinyi? I know I don't. This is part 1 of the review for The Rest Is Still Unwritten. Stay tuned for parts 2 and 3. You've been listening to Ebird Online. Ciao for now.